Hey guys, Matt here. Now, I know it's been a while since my Smallville Season 11 Issue 1 review, but I was really busy and I just couldn't catch up on my Smallville comic book reading, but now I have. So today I'm going to be reviewing issues number 2 and issue number 3. Now, Smallville issue number 4 is out as well, but since I haven't read it and I figured I owe you guys a review, I'll go ahead and start with these two. So after seeing Tess Mercer again in issue number 1, issue 2 starts out with Lex visiting a doctor and he's getting an MRI scan. And it turns out that Tess is actually a figment of his imagination. Not only that, but Lex is also getting smarter. And I like that because my favorite Lex is the genius, is the guy that knows what he's doing, that is pretty sure his plan to stop Superman or the Justice League or whatever is going to succeed. Now I like that Lex. Especially in Red Sun. That Lex is pretty cool. So, Lex is used to seeing Tess now, and he's come to the conclusion that, yes, she is a figment, and he doesn't know why she's, bothering him. He thinks maybe she's haunting him. And I like these Smallville issues for two reasons. One, because these issues flash back to moments in the show to help the reader understand moments and events that are going on. For example, this confrontation between Lex and Tess. They're flashing back to season 11 when Lex kills Tess. So that's pretty cool. The other reason why I like these comics is because they're able to move forward and they're able to introduce people and things that they couldn't always, have actors come back to the show for this scene or that scene. They couldn't always have the special effects in the budget to incorporate, these people or these special effects or these events. But one thing that issue 2 really made my jaw hit the floor on was this. Clark is in space looking for any debris or radiation or anything left over from that red solar flare looking thing that attacked the Russian spaceship, but he can't find anything. So then it cuts to Lex holding a press conference. Basically, he's making a big announcement that he's going to start this space program. He's going to launch a shuttle into space, and the reveal on who he chooses to go into space made me love this entire issue. I was like, oh my gosh, yes, Smallville, you're doing the right thing. And that character he brings in a special astronaut, and that astronaut is Commander Hank Henshaw, which, for those of you that don't know who Hank Henshaw becomes, he becomes a hugely important part of one of the best Superman stories ever, Death of Superman, and he's also part of one of the coolest Green Lantern stories of the Sinestro Corps War. He becomes Cyborg Superman. So as soon as I saw Hank Henshaw, just like when I saw John Jameson in Spider-Man 2, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, they have good, huge plans for this guy. Right before the launch, reporter Clark Kent interviews Hank Henshaw, and Hank Henshaw really just comes off as this really nice guy who's pretty much only thrill is just to get up there in space, because he calls it the closest thing he can experience next to flying. And it just comes off as a really nice guy. So the launch is taking place. Oliver Queen is against Lex from doing this launch, but, it goes ahead regardless. And so Hank Henshaw's in the shuttle with his crewmates, and the shuttle takes off. The boosters, are falling away, and then there's an explosion. And not only is there an explosion, but there's also a radiation leak. So Superman flies up there and he rescues all of the crew because Hank Henshaw's like, rescue them, I'm going to steer this shuttle away so it's safe for everyone down below, and then you come back for me. So Clark rescues the crew, puts them on the ground safely, and then comes back to rescue Hank. But by then it's too late and there's already an explosion. And this is the point where I was like, oh, Smallville, you have such a habit of doing this, where if you guys remember in season 9 when they introduced John Corbin, I was like, okay, that's cool. John Corbin, he goes on to become Metallo. That's awesome. But then in that same episode when he became Metallo and the way he looked and their version of Metallo, I was like, Smallville, can't you just introduce somebody and then not show what they become? But unfortunately, once again, I had a feeling that Smallville was going to do this with Hank Henshaw, where it's like, oh cool, Hank Henshaw, he becomes Cyborg Superman. But then as soon as there's an accident, and as soon as his body becomes burned and radiated, I was like, oh no. No. Why do you have to show his transformation all in the same instant? Why can't you just leave it alone, and then years later, when Superman encounters Cyborg Superman, then he's like, okay, I haven't encountered you before. So Superman puts the fire in the shuttle out. He brings the shuttle to safety. Hank Henshaw is now in the hospital, severely injured, and just when everyone else is freaking out about this incident, Lex Luthor tells Otis, you know, I'm not that worried. It's actually a good thing. Now, at the end of issue 2, they start doing this pretty cool thing where at the end of the issues, this is issue 2, they've pretty much given summaries for each of the seasons. Like, this is Smallville Season 1, episodes 11 through 21. These are the remaining episodes. Basically, it gives you the episode name and brief descriptions of what goes on. And then they show you pictures from the issue. Now, I did it in issue 1, they did it now in Season 2, or issue 2, and now issue 3. One thing I do have to point out, to me, the cover of these issues, especially 2 and 3, like, they're a bit misleading, because, yes, they somewhat capture moments from the issues, but the artwork is very different. Like, if you look at the characters in the cover, like, this is supposed to be Clark as Superman, and Lois, not Lana, it doesn't look like them. I mean, yes, they're cool, and they look, you know, action, and, you know, they look awesome, but they're just different artwork, so I don't like that. But maybe it's just a small gripe on my part.